Warning, this video is for educational, entertainment purposes only. This is not medical or legal advice. Don't do anything we do without doctor's supervision.
Welcome everybody to another episode of MC Stories podcast by Mario Crkon. This time it's again one and only Dr.Tony Huge from Enhanced Athlete. Yeah, and today's topic we'll discuss food sensitivities, food allergies, mainstream supplements that work, and over-the-counter supplements. And this episode is sponsored by Jankovic Nutrition. And if you have some kind of digestion problems or food sensitivities, food allergies, we right now have launched online diagnostics where you will send us your blood and we can diagnose everything and set you on the meal plan that will work on you, and you'll improve your digestion, quality of life, muscle building, fat loss, and you'll move yourself forward. So thanks to Jankovic Nutrition. And Tony, what's up? How are you doing?
Well, Mario, you're asking the right guy about food sensitivities, not because I've studied it in school and not because I stay up to date on the most current scientific research, but because I personally have a lot of food sensitivity problems, and I'm well known for thinking outside the box and finding solutions to problems that are maybe outside of the realm of what most people think about, and then putting it all in context so it makes sense to have a practical, real-world approach to solving the problem. So I'm not going to have all the answers, but I know I have a lot of answers that help people that they can actually put into use, because I do this every day with all of my friends.
So if you can describe, when did you experience your first food allergies and sensitivity, and when did you did your research on it first?
So I first started having food sensitivities when I was really young. I had heartburn as young as I can remember. I mean, there's a few health things that I had when I was really young that I thought were just normal. Like, I thought everybody had heartburn. I thought everybody had restless leg syndrome. I thought everybody had anxiety. And it wasn't until much later in life I realized that these are all health problems that I could have addressed when I was younger, but I just didn't have the knowledge to identify the problem nor to fix it. So as I get older and I start learning that there's a solution to every problem in our life, and then I start thinking, okay, what are all the problems I'm dealing with? I become more self-aware, and heartburn was one of the worst. And I believe that most of my heartburn was caused by eating a grain-based diet, especially eating wheat products and having a sensitivity to wheat products. Our genetics determine our body's ability to process certain foods. And according to my genetic analysis, I am likely to have a sensitivity to wheat products called celiac. Now, I didn't even know what the word celiac was, and I didn't know it was even possible to have a food sensitivity when I was younger. But as I started learning about more of this, I started realizing, wait a second, I have all the symptoms of celiac. The genetic test confirms I'm likely to have celiac. What if I start eliminating wheat from my diet? And I did, and my digestive system started repairing itself. Unfortunately, from so many years of eating foods that I had allergies to, I do believe I created some permanent damage to my digestive system. Let's hope that it doesn't rise to the level of esophageal or stomach cancer or colon cancer, which are all very real possible outcomes for a lot of people who aren't addressing the underlying food sensitivity and who go most of their life not realizing the damage that they're causing. Most people are using things like Prilosec or other antacids to mask the symptoms, not realizing that they're still causing the damage to their digestive system. And the worst thing we can do is cover up the symptoms, because then we don't know that we're causing even further problems. And eventually it comes to the point where we've caused so much digestive damage to our digestive system that we cause problems throughout our entire body, because the lining of the intestines, it's very thin, and there's a mucus that protects it, and you have to maintain the cellular strength and integrity as a boundary between your body, the inside of your body, and the outside world. And so when food comes in, we want some things to come into the bloodstream, and we want other things to stay out of the bloodstream. And if you compromise the digestive system, then all of a sudden you have things coming into the bloodstream that you don't want in the bloodstream, and that circulates through your entire body, causing toxicity. Yes, baby mama, I'm on a video call right now. I have to call you back, okay? Okay. I have to call you back after. She just keeps calling me over and over. So, the solution or step number one is identifying the food sensitivity. No, step number one would be become self-aware and understand that if you're experiencing a symptom, there's probably your body trying to tell you something. And then number two is identify what the allergen is. Number three is eliminate it. Number four would be heal the digestive system. And there's things within each one of those steps.
Except wheat, what other food allergies do you have or sensitivities?
So if you look at the list of common food allergies, the reason why those are common is because those are likely to have protein, peptides, or compounds in them that the majority of the people are more likely to have a sensitivity to. So you hear about peanut allergies, you hear about people having allergies to eggs, to milk, to wheat. These are some of the most common ones. The reason why they're common is because they have very complex proteins in them that the body has a hard time digesting and breaking down, because we're not meant to eat these foods usually. Like, our bodies are not built to eat refined wheat products. Our bodies are not meant to eat like raw eggs through adulthood, for example. And the more different types of proteins there are in something, the more likely that one of those proteins is going to trigger a food sensitivity. I also have a theory that so the more likely something is, or the more complicated the structure of the proteins are, the more likely there is to be a food sensitivity. But I have a theory that we're causing our own food sensitivities by living in a very stressful environment. And when we eat something, let's say like an egg white that has 100 different protein peptides versus a chicken breast that has 10 different protein. I'm just picking numbers out of the air, by the way. But the more protein peptides, the more complicated the structure, the easier it is to become sensitive to one of those components in it. You combine that with, and this is purely my theory, and I do believe very strongly in it, but this is not something that I've seen a scientific study on. I believe that if your body is under great distress at the time that you're eating these type of foods, that your body thinks that it is the food that is causing you that stress, and your body creates an allergic reaction to that food. Another thing that they have proven that can cause food sensitivities is by eating the same food chronically over and over again. And that kind of goes into my theory of how you can develop a food sensitivity to a common food. Is I think if you're eating the same, like you're eating oatmeal every day, day in, day out, the more likely there's going to be times when you eat the oatmeal when your body's under great stress and your body's associating the oatmeal with the stress and creating a food sensitivity to it. I had the food sensitivity test done a long time ago, and the top 5 foods that I was eating every day chronically, because I got into this habit of eating just the same foods every day back when I was more disciplined with my diet, I was developing food sensitivities to these foods I was chronically eating. So then I learned it's probably best to rotate our foods, and especially protein sources. I don't believe that the human body is meant to eat the same foods every day. It makes more sense that our bodies are meant to eat seasonally. And this is something that I believe they have proven anthropologically by looking at human history about how maybe during one part of the year we have access to fruit. During another part of the year we have access to a certain type of meat. And it's cyclic. It's a cycle between different foods that we eat. And I think that's a healthy way to prevent food sensitivities.
Yeah, interesting theory. And I had this problem once pre-competition.
Do you have any food sensitivity?
Yeah, I have a gluten as well. So celiac and fructose, honey. And I have a harder time consuming some meat, some like beef, red meat, Yeah, harder time consuming red meat. My body doesn't get it well, doesn't get it absorbed well, and milk is a little bit problem. Lactose.
See, and you had an arthritis problem, and it's also one of my theories that if you're eating foods that you're sensitive to and you've damaged your digestive system, then those allergens are going to end up in the bloodstream and it's going to accumulate in places there's already inflammation and cause more inflammation and therefore cause more arthritis. So I think it's all related.
100%. I feel it in myself. So 100%. And I'm working with Jankovic Nutrition right now. And what he has put me on is that I'm on a keto diet. And he basically has a mix where he has protein blends and amino acids. And you put olive oil or linseed oil. I don't know how you pronounce it in English, linseed oil. And basically your only source of fats is the olive oil and linseed oil, which I don't think you can develop allergy to. And right now I've been on a month for it, and I feel great. I feel fantastic.
Good.
So
I also believe that
if
you take a break from the
Yeah.
foods you create a sensitivity to, this food sensitivity could go away. It's like the chronic exposure just makes the food sensitivity worse and worse.
Yeah, that's exactly a lot of my food sensitivities. Not just, let's not talk about allergies, because allergy and sensitivities whole different thing. But the sensitivities that my body wouldn't have problem eating, but would have harder time absorbing the nutrients from. Basically, a lot of my food sensitivities has went away since I went on keto diet.
Mm-hmm.
I know you like keto diet as well. So what's your statement on that?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's protein foods that can cause food sensitivities, and there's carbohydrate-based foods that can cause food sensitivities, but not usually fat foods. Fat doesn't usually cause sensitivities that I've seen. So the keto diet, if done properly, is usually a higher fat diet. So right there, you've eliminated a lot of the intake of protein and carbohydrates, and you've replaced it with something that's less likely to cause a food sensitivity. And the keto diet lowers inflammation. So from two different angles, you're decreasing food sensitivity. And you said allergies versus food sensitivity. So there's a lot of different ways you could define both of them. One eye-opening thing to me was when I got my food sensitivity test, it tested for both allergy and food sensitivity. And the way that they defined it in the test was a food sensitivity would cause an immune reaction in the specific cells in the digestive system, and an allergy would cause an immune reaction in other parts of the body. So you could have a negative reaction in just the digestive system, or you could have a negative reaction in just the rest of the body, or you could have a negative reaction in both. I feel like myself, I have a negative reaction to wheat in both my digestive system, where I get the heartburn and bloated, and I also feel like it hits the whole rest of my body. Like my whole body becomes burdened by it, not just because it's taking resources to repair the digestive system, but I just feel it everywhere in my body. You know?
The way I also see sensitivities and allergies in bodybuilding. Usually pro bodybuilders don't have problems with allergies or sensitivities because of the genetics, because their genetics allow them to eat anything at any amounts, and they pretty much can develop allergy or sensitivity. But I see it a lot in amateur bodybuilders that are not pro yet, that they can make progress anymore, and they don't know the stuff because they're taking their gear, they're having their nutrition right, and they can build muscle or lose fat. And the main cause of some people I see here is the food sensitivity or allergy. So do you think that it's a crucial part of the bodybuilding?
Yeah, okay. So that one topic alone I could talk for hours on. So just a couple things that came to mind. One is when a bodybuilder has high growth hormone and IGF levels, the bodybuilder's body is actually able to repair the digestive system much quicker than a natural person can. So they may be creating a food sensitivity and damaging their digestive system, but because they're repairing it so quickly with the enhancement of the drugs, they might not even notice as much. A bodybuilder usually eats a lot of food. So if they are sensitive to a food and they start eating a lot of it, they will find themselves very bloated. And bodybuilders, just like anybody else, have a hard time associating like they feel bloated today, but they don't think like, why am I bloated? What did I eat that caused me bloated? This is a common problem. Also, bodybuilders eat a lot of rice and chicken, which are very low likelihood of causing food sensitivity. You know, tuna, beef generally is a low food sensitivity item in general, but I know you and other people have some sensitivity to it. So if you look at the clean bodybuilder's diet, if they're really disciplined about it, they're usually not eating a lot of foods that cause food sensitivities and allergy problems. And it's really important in bodybuilding. If you want to eat a lot of calories, you can't afford to get bloated. You can't afford to compromise the integrity of the digestive system and compromise your ability to absorb nutrients. So if most people, if they're bodybuilders and they follow the classic bodybuilding diet foods, they're usually not going to have digestive problems. Now, here's what's funny. I deal with this all the time. Bodybuilders will complain to me about having heartburn and digestive problems and bloating and water retention. And I'll say, how much wheat are you eating? And they'll say, oh, I like pasta as one of my favorite carb sources. And I say, drop the pasta. I bet you that's causing your problem. And they don't drop the pasta. It's almost like wheat is addicting. And even though they know that it's a possibility, it's causing the food sensitivity, the addiction to that food item is greater than the side effects that they get from eating it. Now, the ones that I know that do listen and do drop the foods likely to cause sensitivity, eventually they don't go back to eating wheat. But it's like that initial time of trying to convince them to get off the foods that they've been used to eating that are likely to cause their problem is very difficult, and I deal with that a lot.
And do you think that the food sensitivities and allergies can be such an issue that it could stop your muscle growth or your fat loss?
Yeah, it depends on. So fat loss is interesting because if your body's compromised, it's harder to burn fat. It's like the healthier your body is, the easier it is for your body to burn fat. The less healthy, the more carbohydrate dependent you get, just generally speaking. This is especially true in the liver, and why liver health is so important in bodybuilding. If your liver is under a lot of stress, then you have a hard time burning fat. And as far as muscle building, one example is when we did these crazy transformations, we put 20 pounds of muscle on people in 1 week. The limiting factor, one of them, was the ability to eat enough food or absorb enough food. And in those cases, like, it's really important not to eat foods that cause sensitivity. It's really important to eat foods that digest very quickly and cleanly and don't cause bloating. Because if you get all bloated, let's say for breakfast, you eat food that causes you bloated and stomach discomfort and slows your digestive transit time, then you've now compromised your ability to absorb or eat enough for lunch, all the way maybe even to dinner. You could lose an entire day of eating enough calories. Take Pup here, for example, the 280-pound bodybuilder in Thailand that I train with sometimes. 280 pounds. He's got to eat 9,500 calories per day. Imagine if he has a food sensitivity and he starts out the day eating foods that are causing him to be bloated. How's he going to get in 9,500 calories? There's no way. So yes, when bulking and putting on muscle, it's really, digestive health is really important. And then just overall health in general is important when you're trying to burn fat. When some of these products that are meant to be fat burners, maybe they don't even work, but they'll try to say, oh, the key is, lowering inflammation and increasing blood flow to increase fat loss. Well, those pathways are true. And by eating foods that you're sensitive to, you're decreasing blood flow and you're increasing inflammation. So it does have some impact on fat loss, to the extent of which if someone's super lean and they're trying to get ready for a show, every little bit's going to matter. If they've got a lot of fat, then hindering a little bit of fat loss isn't going to make a big difference. It's more of the muscle building that it becomes a limiting factor, and limiting how many calories you can actually absorb.
Which diet do you think is causes the least inflammation and the least sensitivities?
Carnivore, keto, intermittent fasting, carb cycling. Those would probably be and fasting in general. You know, if someone was going to continue a diet that's going to cause food sensitivities and inflammation, a good way to reset that is to fast, because when you're fasting and you decrease the stress on the digestive system, it's able to fully recover. And there's certain supplements you can take, you know, to recover the digestive system faster. Increasing IGF levels, whether it's through growth hormone and insulin or taking IGF, repairs the digestive system quickly. Glutamine repairs the digestive system quickly. Anything that lowers inflammation, like turmeric, curcumin, things like that. That's sort of part of my protocol when I make a mistake and I eat a bunch of cookies and my digestive system's messed up and I want to get it recovered quickly, then I do use those strategies, the change in the diet and the supplementation, to recover my digestive system quickly. Because if I don't, it takes me maybe 3.5 days to recover my digestive system from the damage I do. But if I do all those things, maybe I can recover my digestive system in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about you, that you have instant solutions for the problem. You have solutions.
Not a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Want
The
it quick.
convenience, the COVID-19 protocols, the digestion protocols, the 30 pounds of muscle protocols. That's great. So what's your complete, if you can say it, your complete protocol for the fastest digestive system recovery?
So I'm sure there's a lot more. If I gave it more thought, I could come up with a pretty awesome protocol. But what I personally, let's say what I did the last few times, I messed up and I ate a bunch of cookies or cake. So the wheat messed up my digestive system. I have heartburn. I'm bloated. Then I will take a teaspoon of turmeric. I'll probably hit that 3 times a day. I try to avoid the antacids because I want to know when I've actually repaired my digestive system, not mask the symptoms and then not know how my protocol actually worked to actually heal the digestive system. I'll take growth and insulin so that it'll convert to IGF. If it was really bad, I'd probably just take IGF directly. Glutamine. I don't believe in a lot of glutamine for muscle growth in general, but I do believe in huge amounts of glutamine to recover the digestive system. So we're talking like, like 15 grams 3 times a day. A large dose seems to make a difference. And the turmeric. Allergy antihistamine. So I'll take like a Benadryl or other antihistamine before bed, and I'll take a Claritin or Loratadine or Allegra or some, during the day, a non-drowsy antihistamine. And then fish oil as an anti-inflammatory, quercetin. I'm not sure how you say it because I've never actually heard someone else say it. I only read about it and use it. And then vitamin C. And I'm looking around at my counters. Oh, if it's really bad, I will take baking soda to neutralize the acid, like before bed especially, because I can't sleep if I have acid coming up. See, the omeprazole and the Prilosec, those could last 3 or 4 days. So I can't wake up in the morning and tell whether I cured the symptoms or the actual underlying problem. But if I take the baking soda, it's short acting. It neutralizes the acid so I can sleep, and then I can wake up and see how my digestive system feels. I guess salt water, increasing salt and water intake. My gut tells me that would be a good choice to do, and I'm not sure why, but just to clean out the digestive system. Oh, fiber. Oh my gosh.
Psyllium fiber, I was about to say it.
Game changer. Because what happens is it's like if I eat wheat, it like gets stuck in my stomach and it just keeps causing toxicity and problems. If I take a lot of fiber and I flush it out, then I stop the damage.
Catches it, then it flushes out, right?
Yes. So a more extreme approach would be to use like carbon activated charcoal. That'll absorb even more and clean the walls of the intestine even more. But I just stick with the psyllium husk fiber, and I just take like a heaping tablespoon of it with a bunch of water.
Yeah, that's great. And how many fish oil do you take? How much fish oil do you take?
If I'm taking arachidonic acid, which I believe is one of the secrets to muscle growth and one of the most underrated
Yeah,
supplements
you
that
have a
exist.
few videos on that. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. If I'm taking that, then I want to increase my fish oil to 4 gel caps in the morning and 4 at night. So I'm taking 8. If not, then I want to at least make sure I get 3 in per day. And I also eat salmon maybe 2 days per week, which has a considerable amount of fish oil too. So I do take in a lot of fish oil. That's for I take that for cholesterol as an anti-inflammatory. But especially when I'm on arachidonic acid, like I want to create as much inflammation in the muscle, but then I want to reduce the inflammation in the rest of the body. So then I increase my fish oil intake to offset the potential spillover effect of the arachidonic acid in the rest of the body outside the muscle cell.
I'm taking 10 capsules, so that's 10 grams of fish oil. That's
Yeah, I think that's good.
but
If you
helps
can,
with the arthritis so much that I can lower my other medications that would probably later fuck me up.
yeah, good choice. It's a very, they are they are admitting, Western medicine is now finally admitting the power of fish oil. For so long they try to fight against fish oil because it competes with mainstream pharmaceuticals, and now because they actually have a prescription fish oil. Now they're all praising fish oil. Like, okay, they couldn't admit that fish oil was a medical supplement until they have a patent on one that they can sell us for 30 times the price, and now they're going to admit it's a miracle. Now the doctors are going to push it and prescribe it in this corrupt system. But so now we even have Western medicine supporting fish oil, but just don't buy that one because it's just the same exact thing, way overpriced. And then by paying for the prescription fish oil, we're supporting an evil system that's trying to suppress all the information and access to these supplements at a reasonable price.
Yeah, and I like your videos. In a recent video, you said that the problem that why pharma companies don't don't promote CBD is because you have they must isolate the compound to patent it and sell it. But we now know that the CBD doesn't work alone. You must have other terpenes from cannabis and everything. So if you can talk to listeners about that.
Yeah, we already have in nature, we already have miracle supplements that already work. Western medicine tries to tell us they don't work, they don't work. In the meanwhile, they're spending millions of dollars trying to isolate the compounds to be able to create patents and monopolize the industry, reinvesting the money that they'll make from those profits into suppressing all the information that competes with them. So they give us an inferior product for 1,000 times markup. I think it was $32,000 is what they wanted to charge for a CBD prescription because they just want to rape the insurance companies, and a lot of people don't even realize what it's costing, but it becomes a tax on entire Western civilization because the governments end up paying for it, and then there's kickbacks between the governments and the pharmaceutical companies, and the bottom line is the people are all getting raped every step of the way. But we already had these compounds in their natural form, not isolating just one alkaloid or one terpene. They all work together. Like, we just need the herb. Like, don't make the herb illegal. Take the herb away from us and then try to isolate one compound that doesn't even work that good and then cram it down our throats at 1,000 times markup. It is such a scam system. And then, like I said, they put all the money back into suppressing all the information that competes with them. And unfortunately, people go online, especially Google. Holy cow, now Google is so heavily censored. So now you look at the first page of Google, pretty much all of that information is propaganda, pro-Western medicine, and against the truth, all in favor of preventing us to have access to things that actually work, in favor of things that cost a lot more to create more profit. It's a way to monopolize the industry. So, like, if you're going to research these things, you pretty much have to go to the 10th page of Google before you're going to find really actual information. Because if it's actual truthful information, it's getting censored, it's getting shadow banned, and that's the information you want the censored information, because that's the one they're trying to prevent you to get access to because it's real.
Yeah, when I recorded the first podcast with you, the Google started shadow banning me, and I saw that yesterday or the day before you got deleted your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I notice it's so funny, it's so direct. If I talk on social media about corona cure or anything that competes with what CNN would say or the Western medicine would say, I watch the views drop down. And when I search my name, I'm harder to find and the video's harder to find. Like the algorithm it's like artificial intelligence where they say, okay, anybody that says anything that contradicts the fake propaganda and the fake news, we're going to downrank it so it's harder to find their information, but it's subtle enough to where people aren't realizing that it's actually happening. So yes, if you create enough of a threat, if you are gaining a lot of momentum, like my first YouTube channel is gaining a huge amount of momentum against Western medicine, then they just delete you completely. But if they don't think it's going to rise to the level of you reaching millions of people in the mainstream and getting their head outside of the matrix, then they just shadow ban you. So you're harder to find so you don't complain or make a scene about the fact or most people don't even realize that they're getting shadow banned. And it wouldn't be a problem if the public was a little bit more proactive and put a little more effort into finding accurate information, because you can still find the information. Problem is 99.9% of people, they're not going to go to the 10th page of Google. They're not going to search past what pops up on the first page. So the way that Google, Facebook, Instagram, all these platforms are snuffing out all of the truthful information is they're just ranking them low enough because they know that they're getting 99.9% of the public the false information by just moving the false information to the top artificially.
How many accounts did you got deleted in total?
Oh, it's probably about 6, maybe 8.
I remember even the first account you started making videos like 4 years ago, I think.
4.5 probably.
I was subscribing since probably the second video, and I remember since the first account got deleted, it's crazy. But right now it's much more against everything, because at the first account you needed to violate the terms 3 times, and right now they didn't even care. They just deleted it right away.
You know, the funny thing is if you read the actual terms of service, my account didn't violate the terms of service. It was purely political. So there is some hope. I don't have a lot of hope for this, but there is some hope. Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America himself, is getting censored by, I'd say, enemies of freedom, by the deep state, by the people who want to suppress factual information in favor of emotional information to try to mind control people without giving them the facts. So he suffered this himself. So he's actually taking up the right to free speech, and he's actually taking on some of the tech companies. I believe Donald Trump is the only hope as far as a leader that we have in Western civilization to help get any amount of free speech back. And I really hope he pushes hard. If he wins the next election, I believe we will finally have a little bit more free speech and some hope of getting factual information out so that people can make their own informed decisions. If Donald Trump loses that election, we will never recover from the level of censorship as it increases. That's it. Basically, game over for medical freedom, game over for freedom of information, and we are all going to become technological slaves under mind control. So, you know, I know you're in a different country, and I don't know what your perspective is there, but I can tell you, knowing the behind the scenes of this fight for freedom, if Trump gets reelected, we have hope for freedom of information, freedom of expression, and scientific progress. And if not, that's it. Game over. We're never going to recover, because people's minds will become so closed. They will have so little access to truthful information. They won't even know to ask for more freedom of information. The entire culture will change to where people will say, well, people don't even believe in freedom of information because they'll say the truth is too dangerous. We can't be trusted with the truth. And that'll become the culture. They'll say, oh, we can't be trusted to know the truth about digestive health because then we might go take glutamine and take too much glutamine and hurt ourselves. Government, you need to tell us what prescription medication to take to fix us. And that's my worst nightmare. That is slavery at its absolute worst. We lose complete control of our mind, body, and spirit. So keep fingers crossed that Trump does get reelected.
Yeah, I watch all the information, and I have the same perspective. Exactly same perspective, but the people they aren't informed enough, and they watch the news and they see that they make a Trump a person that he isn't. They try to make him completely different person, and the people are not informed enough that they trust him.
People could go and just watch Trump's actual speech, right?
Yeah.
And if they did, and they are intelligent themselves, they would go, wow, Trump, reading between the lines and what Trump is trying to do and change the world, Trump is a genius and a freedom fighter who's fighting on behalf of the people without any of his own self-interest. But then if you watch CNN or the fake news, they'll take clips of his speech, completely misinterpret it, turn it around 180 degrees, and then people just watch that instead of the actual source itself. And that's the future we're leading towards, is that people don't look at the source of the information whatsoever. They just take one little line out of a 10-minute speech and then form a bunch of opinions and emotions around that line and construe it to be something completely different. That's so dangerous. So yeah, fingers crossed. And I'm in Thailand, and it shouldn't matter to me. Part of why I come to Thailand is to get away from all of that, but I can't, because the American media controls the entire Western world. Actually, the American media even controls China to some extent, which is why the Chinese, not the Chinese citizens, the Chinese government are investing in manipulating the American media. So you've got China and the Democratic Party and basically the communists in America all teaming up to control the world's media, control the mind of the entire world, not just China. So we're at risk of the Western world becoming just like China. And that's if that happens, like the only thing that prevents China from getting any worse than it is, as far as the lack of civil liberties, is the fact that the rest of the world is sort of trying to pull it away from how bad it could be. If the rest of the world also becomes communist, which is the direction it's going, then China's going to go even further. And then basically everybody's going to be little slaves in their little box. And people don't realize how bad that can get, but people look at Nazi Germany and they think, oh, Nazi Germany was so terrible. And they don't realize that we are in an early phase of the entire world becoming a Nazi Germany. And I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but what's really frustrating is the people who think that they're fighting against Nazi Germany are actually the ones that are creating the Nazi Germany. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, I call them the feminazis, the politically correct people that won't let other people express their opinions, the suppression of information, the elimination of First Amendment right to free speech. All of these things happening are just dominoes falling one after the other towards a Nazi Germany. Actually, something much worse than a Nazi Germany. At least in Nazi Germany, the Jews could hide in a friend's house or something. But here, when everybody's microchipped and with the technology and the facial recognition on the cameras, there's going to be no hiding. If you object or oppose to being poisoned by your own government and them determining when you live, how you live, when you die, and object in any way, then you're just eliminated. It's a push of a button and you have a heart attack through a radio frequency blast. Sounds like conspiracy theory stuff, but if anybody looks deeper into it, they'll realize the gravity of the situation, that it is going to a much more technologically advanced Nazi world order. And that is the New World Order, that is the deep state, that is the Democratic Party of the United States, and that is enemy number one for anybody who prioritizes civil liberties and freedom.
Yeah, so that was our fighting for freedom window. And right now we can get to over-the-counter medications that work and mainstream supplements that work.
Okay,
So what over-the-counter medications do you use and do you think that they could potentially cure some diseases?
Okay, so like there's so many over-the-counter medications, even ones that you would think are useless in most applications could be extremely useful in other applications. So that's kind of a broad question. I mean, any over-the-counter supplement could be the solution for someone if they're deficient in that nutrient or they have a problem with that specific pathway, like the coronavirus, for example. Lung inflammation is usually the cause of death. Blood clots and all that, which is a result of the inflammation. But so for that person, even a weak natural anti-inflammatory could save their life. Whereas for someone else, it wouldn't do anything. So it's like muscle building, disease prevention. If I had to pick something like that's an overall miracle supplement, like we talked about fish oil, I think fish oil is an overall miracle supplement. That's something that if everybody took that, they would just be healthier across the board and prevent disease very early on. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit more specifically, like building muscle or what, and we'll try to think of an example of a supplement that may be underrated for that application. Nick, can I have that?
Let's talk about most underrated over-the-counter products.
Vitamin C. I was skeptical about vitamin C, but after traveling the world and watching underground doctors, let's say, people that help other people get over diseases, almost every protocol involves high dosages of vitamin C. And when I was young,
I use like 7 to 8 grams a day for arthritis as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a megadose.
That's a megadose, and that's actually what a lot of people in the underground recommend. If you go over that dosage, usually you'll just have diarrhea and poop it out. If you're going to inject it through an IV, you can go much higher. But as far as oral dosage, probably 8 grams is the amount that you would absorb, unless it was using liposomal technology or something like that to have more of it absorbed through the digestive system. But yeah, that's for immune system, health, recovery, cancer prevention, cancer treatment. Like a lot of the diseases that kill humans or decrease our quality of life are fixed with megadoses of vitamin C, preventing oxidation in general of the body, decreasing the burden on the immune system. A lot of what I believe is the problem with health in our current day and age is just too much oxidation, too much stress, too much stimulation. And so one of those is oxidation, and vitamin C is one of the more powerful antioxidants. But there's many other different antioxidants. The drawback of vitamin C is that it's got a really short active life in the body, and it's water soluble, so it flushes out quickly. So if you took 8 grams in the morning, it would probably bring you a lot of benefit for the first half of the day, but probably no benefit for the second half of the day. So it's about spreading the dosage out, usually would be the trick with it. What else? Like if I look around at my condo and think about what supplements I take, glucosamine. That's a glucosamine MSM chondroitin over there. Bart at Muscle Factory Gym actually uses glucosamine to recover the digestive system. So as part of the digestive protocol, I would add in large doses of glucosamine MSM chondroitin, because that's going to that heals lots of different parts of the body. People theorize that we're deficient in sulfur, and MSM's a source of sulfur also.
What about Boswellia serrata? I use that a lot.
Yeah, I know Boswellia. I don't remember specific. Like it's not part of my. Let me see if it's part of like this. This is a supplement that I helped design for Corona specifically. It's called Force Field. So that's got a lot of anti-inflammatory and stuff. I just checked to see if Boswellia is in it. It's not. Maybe it's because it would require too high of a dosage. I tried to stick to things that were effective in a low enough dosage that you could fit into capsules. Is that like a high? Tell me more about Boswellia, because I have taken it before. I do have a bottle of it somewhere.
It contains boswellic acids that should fight the inflammation specifically in the joints. It should pass the digestive system and get to joints and fight inflammation there. and it also helps me get all the painkillers out.
How much do you take? What do you think your effective dosage of it is?
For me, I think like a gram and a half, which is a pretty huge amount, because it sells in like 200 milligrams or like 100 milligrams, which I've seen so far. At least here in Europe. I sometimes get it from USA, but it takes a lot of time till they ship it here.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. I mean, all of these herbs are actually, they're pretty effective. So we're talking about mainstream supplements and being underrated. These mainstream herbs, eventually, the Western medicine will tell you that they don't work, but in the background, just like the CBD, just like another drug I can't remember we talked about, they're trying to work on how to isolate a compound out of it and prove that it works, but they often hit the challenge that it's not just one compound in the herb that creates the effectiveness, and they're not really that's the fascinating thing. This is a really important point about like the treatment of corona, for example. They'll say that quercetin, let's say, is not a cure for corona. Or even better, they'll say hydroxychloroquine is not a cure for corona. Okay, but if you combine hydroxychloroquine with zinc and with azithromycin, it is a cure in maybe 99% of people of corona. But they can't. But the way Western medicine works is they don't do stacks. Like in bodybuilding, we think of stacks and cycles, and that's how the human body works. But to patent a drug, they don't do stacks and cycles. And if they can't do stacks and cycles, then they're not going to patent it. They're not going to make money off it. Then they're going to suppress that information. So they say, okay, hydroxychloroquine works for a certain type of, let's say, malaria. But it would work for and I pick hydroxychloroquine because it's just relevant to the times right now. But the same thing works for herbs too. Whereas maybe one herb doesn't solve your problem, but if you just combined two herbs that attacked a problem from two different pathways, it would cure it. So we always have to think like, what pathway are we coming across, and are there something else synergistically we would add to it that could actually solve the problem?
Yeah, that's exactly the point, because there's such a synergistic effect that there are some compounds that even don't have any benefit, but if you combine them with other compounds or other free compounds, they improve the results by like 75%.
Here's an example. For Western medicine might say a steroid doesn't really build a considerable amount of muscle, right? Let's just say. But a steroid plus exercise builds a considerable amount of muscle. So that you can't say that the steroid doesn't work because you're not giving it the right conditions to make it work. Like, you're talking about a pathway of growing muscle, but one of the necessary components of that is the physical mechanical stimulation of the muscle. Yeah, and then so that's one of the reasons why like Eastern medicine just makes so much more sense, because they think of things holistically. Like, if you go to an Eastern medicine doctor, they're not just going to give you one herb. They'll give you 3 herbs that work together, and it actually will cure a disease that Western medicine still doesn't have a cure for. And because they have the ability to combine different things that are synergistically and work across different pathways towards one solution. So you have to think of things like that. You can't just write a supplement off because it doesn't work by itself in a vacuum in a medical study. Maybe it works great under the right conditions. You just have to give it the right conditions.
Yeah, exactly. And if you take like an immune system supplement, it can be just like vitamin C, 200 milligrams, and vitamin E. But we're developing a product with the Yankovic Nutrition called Immune Power, and it has like 14 or 16 compounds. And with your products as well, with your supplements, the sleep juice, the fat burning products, it has like, it's not a single compound, it's like mix of 16 to 20, sometimes even 25 compounds. Or the blue ox or the black ox test booster, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
And what are some other supplements that you advise everyone taking that aren't so well known, or a combination of supplements?
Like I take Tudka for liver, and it's very effective.
I take also N-acetylcysteine.
Yep, I take N-acetylcysteine, NAC. Magnesium is in my body. My genetic test revealed, and I know from experience that my body doesn't hold on to magnesium. I become deficient. If I don't take in supplemental magnesium every day, within 24 hours, my body's deficient in magnesium. So we all have our own personal strengths and stuff. Like my body holds on to zinc and vitamin E. Like technically, I don't need to supplement with vitamin E or zinc, but I need to supplement with a lot more magnesium than other people. It's important to learn your body, right? Because
My body doesn't hold on to zinc, for example.
interesting. Yeah. So for me, magnesium is an absolute miracle. But for someone else, it's going to help everybody. But the people who are more deficient in it are going to benefit more from curing that deficiency.
What
So
form
it's
of
always about also finding your specific limiting factor. For some people, their vitamin D levels may be too low, and that's going to compromise their immune system. For some people, their body might flush out vitamin C very quickly, or they might cause a lot more oxidation, and then so they benefit more from vitamin C. So one solution is to just take more of everything. And that's actually okay with most vitamins, because if you have too much, you just flush it out. And then some things, like vitamin E, you could potentially take too much, or vitamin A, you could potentially take too much, but not usually. Usually people are deficient in these nutrients if they're any kind of an athlete or have a higher requirement for them.
In Slovakia, for example, I take like 20,000 units of vitamin D3 because it's so hard to get to calcitriol here. So my only option is the vitamin D3, and they tell you here that the maximum amount is 1,000 units, and every time they're sending me to get my blood tested. And I have we in Europe, and specifically Slovakia, we have the different how to say it, measurements. Like the lowest possible measurement you can get is so low that I don't think if you would be even conscious from that blood level, and the highest is still so low that I have like a 20 points over mark, and they say that you're vitamin D overdose, but I feel just fine. And in other countries, that's completely normal dosage, and they want to send me to hospital because I'm overdosed with vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and you see, you could look at what are the symptoms of vitamin D overdose and see if you actually have those symptoms.
I don't
If
have
you
symptoms.
don't have those symptoms, then you're probably not overdosing. Vitamin D is something where if you do overdose, you'll feel it. I think chronic fatigue, and there's some health consequences that come with it.
I
So if you're
think
not feeling
20,000 units is okay dosage.
yeah,
Especially here, you don't have any sun. You just have some sun in summer, and the vitamin D from the sun, right in this zone, you only absorb from like 12 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that's like only 2 hours of the UVB rays that you can absorb vitamin D. So you don't, all year round, you don't have any vitamin D from sun. So I think 20,000 units is completely okay. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it depends on how much you convert. I think it would be very rare for someone to convert so much out of 20,000 units to where it would be an overdose. It's not likely to happen. But vitamin D accumulates over time too. So if someone was going to try to judge whether they're overdosing by symptoms, 1 month after starting 20,000 IU would be a better judge of what the blood levels would stabilize to than a few days of 20,000 IU. So it's like a long-term thing. Someone could take 20,000 IU, but think long-term, like how do they feel a month from now? How do they feel 2 months from now as the vitamin D levels in the blood keep accumulating? And yeah, as long as they don't feel the side effects of having too much vitamin D, it's probably better to have more vitamin D than less, because there's not very many diseases caused by common diseases caused by too much vitamin D, but there's many different diseases caused by vitamin D deficiency. I think they said with coronavirus, virtually no people have died of corona who actually had adequate vitamin D levels.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
if
that's
you
true.
think about it, coronavirus is not killing anyone. Vitamin D deficiency is. Corona is just a contributing factor.
Yeah, yeah, and I take 20,000 units for like 3 years straight, and I feel fantastic. I can, and the conversion rate is like, the problem here is the doctors are so uneducated that I tell them that the conversion rate is maybe for my body like 15-20%, and they say, how can it be such conversion rate, because it's hormone? And I say, it's not hormone, it's pro-hormone. The actual hormone you can get is calcitriol, and they're like looking like, what's this guy talking about? He doesn't know anything about it. Vitamin D is a hormone that your body absorbs the full amount.
Yeah, primary care doctors usually only know enough information to try to sell you on a pharmaceutical drug, or just to maintain enough face in front of a bunch of idiot patients who wouldn't know the difference. That's it. It's all sales. I don't know how it is in your country, but I'm sure it's similar. The pharmaceutical companies write all the material, write all the rules, write the physician's desk book that they're held to legally to comply with, otherwise they get sued or lose their insurance. So it's all curriculum written by the pharmaceutical companies. It's not even written by the scientists. It's not written by forward-thinking people or problem-solving thinking people. It's just written as sales material.
You know, actually, last week I was at my doctor because I was getting a glucocorticoid injection in the knee, and she was asking because I lost some weight, and she was asking what diet I'm on right now, and I told her that I'm on keto diet, and she said that someone who has diabetes produces ketones. So it's possible that if I'm on this keto diet for longer, I could get diabetes.
Wow. I wish I could get quote. It'd be a fun project to gather all the quotes from doctors. Like, I have so many examples of that meeting with doctors myself, and I don't try to, in the beginning I try to argue with them a little bit, but not anymore, because I just know every time they're so arrogant. They've got such an ego. They will never admit that they're wrong, and they're always wrong. So like, you just have to just nod your head and smile and go, oh, okay, thank you, wow. Just walk out of there and just go, wow. You can cure people of, like, if you went against a doctor, you're trying to cure them of diseases, the doctor trying to cure them of diseases, you're going to win 9 times out of 10.
Thank you. I don't know, maybe, probably, but I think maybe I can do better than them, yeah, in some cases. Yeah, it's
Well, because a big difference too is a doctor will never admit they don't know. Whereas you might, a patient came to you, you might say, I don't know. And that's good, because then the patient has to try to find the answer. But a doctor will give them the wrong answer and send them down the wrong path. And this patient might do the wrong thing for the next 5 years, exacerbating their problems.
yeah, there's so many people right now that don't care. The doctor just prescribes something and they have a full belief in them. They don't even check if their information is correct. They don't find sources. They don't go online and, like you said, go on 10th page of Google and search the right information. But yeah, it's the whole system would need like a reboot. And yeah.
Not just because I've never said this before, but it's funny because in America, now there is a little bit of attention drawn to doctors over prescribing. And so in order to neutralize that, now doctors think it's a badge of honor when they don't prescribe something. So someone comes in with a problem, and sometimes now they'll be like, oh, don't take anything. It's like, oh, here's a prescription, write this. Now sometimes they're like, oh, don't take anything. and no problem fixed whatsoever. And they think it's like a badge of honor that, today I didn't overprescribe medication. Yeah, because you did absolutely nothing. Like that, you went from doing like a bad thing and prescribing toxic medication that isn't going to fix the problem, only get rid of the symptoms, to now you're not going to give them any medication. What are you even there for?
Yeah, and I just got an idea that I can say that if someone has a problem with any kind of health issue, right now I just started working as a consultant for health problems and digestive system problems. So if anyone, you're full of you don't have any time to help everyone. So if someone doesn't have someone needs help, they can reach out to me. They can send me email and we can debate about this stuff, because how's your time? How much free time do you have?
Oh yeah, there's not much time, not much sleep, too many messages, too many projects, stretched very thin. Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have time for any kind of this stuff as a nutrition or the health problems consultant.
Yeah. I'll see about, I'm trying to create the inner circle again, to where we get people like you who have solved a lot of problems yourself, who think outside the box, to all collaborate with each other. And I'll see about including you in inner circle also.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think we would need to connect all the countries and make one big circle and educate people what's right, and to educate everyone to think outside the box, because I think nowadays it's crucial. It's the only way how we can survive.
You know what term I wanted to use for this type of movement, as far as thinking outside the box with medical and giving people the actual facts to make their own decision, is medical freedom. I think medical freedom is the perfect term for it, but medical freedom is shadow banned across everything. So they have taken a term that best describes what we're trying to do and made it impossible for us to use that memorable, meaningful term. You can't even post on, if you post the word medical freedom on anything, shadow banned. Not necessarily your whole profile, but that post will rank very low. So I have to figure out another way sometime to get the point across in a short phrase that's memorable, so people can understand this concept of taking responsibility for their own health, giving them the freedom of access of information, and thinking outside the box.
Okay, Tony, do you want to say anything else, or have some kind of topic you want to discuss?
No, I'll just give a quick update on what I'm experimenting with. I'm on DNP, the fat burner, right now. My birthday's coming up in a week, so I'm going to try to get shredded really quick for some pretty amazing photo and video shoots.
You will be 38. 38, yeah.
Yeah. And my health is pretty good. I still need to increase my quality of sleep. I'm always trying to improve myself, but my limiting factors, and this is just an important thing that fits in everything, like, it doesn't matter what supplement you take or what drug you take or what, if the foundation, like if you're not getting enough rest, you're not exercising, you don't have a basically healthy diet, like nothing matters after that. So it's always a matter of finding what the least amount of energy you can put into the most important thing, not procrastinating on that. And you do that first before adding other layers to it. Kind of like exercising before using steroids, or getting your diet in check before using steroids. The same principle. So I'm still also working on my foundational stuff, like getting enough sleep and getting and eating less junk food. Speaking of which, I'll just make one more point about junk food. I drove by a KFC. They have Thailand. They have all American fast food here. Thailand people are very healthy, very thin. They have no body fat. But if you drive by a KFC and you look inside, packed full of fat Thai people, fat, unhealthy, American-looking Thai people. It is so obvious the cause of most people's health problems: processed, junk food, toxic chemicals. So like anything we talk about, health, bodybuilding, or whatever, first thing is eliminate synthetic, processed garbage. That's it. That's just one final thought from yesterday to just
You know
close
what?
it out.
You actually got me idea. I want to point out one thing. Basically the keto diet I'm on right now isn't typical keto diet, but like I said, it consists of a protein amino acids mix with a little bit of good fat, and you also put olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and extra virgin linseed oil into it, and that's basically it. And then you have only like 200 grams of green vegetables. So you only drink basically. You don't eat anything. But the calories and the fats, you have so many nutrients that your body can survive from it, and you can even build some muscle on it and lose fat at the same time. But the people here in Slovakia, they're so stupid that they ask me, what you're eating right now? How's your diet right now? And I said, well, I'm not eating anything. I'm just drinking this keto drink, and I explain everything it contains and stuff. And they say, oh, you don't eat, that's crazy, you're stupid, you must eat something. And they say that everyone wears face masks, that they're a bunch of sheeps. But at the same time, the same people that say that people are sheep, they wear face masks, are are sheep too, because they say that you must eat something, you can't function on this. But however, my digestive system, my autoimmune disease, my everything got so much better, and I feel great without eating anything. I'm not saying that you will do this for like, I don't know, like 2 years, but I think everyone should try it at least for like 2 or 3 months. What do you think?
Well, I relate it to the most extreme example, the carnivore diet, because now we're told to think that we need all these nutrients from plants, antioxidants and all these micronutrients that we don't even know exist, plant-based nutrients. But what the answer carnivore diet people give me, I say, aren't you worried you're going to be deficient in all these other nutrients? And they say, no, the body doesn't need those nutrients because there's no inflammation, there's no problems being caused by the carnivore diet. If you eat plants or you eat grains, let's say especially, you're causing so many problems in the body that, yeah, you need all these micronutrients to fix those problems. But if you start with a meat-based diet, that you're eating almost all meat, then you're not going to have inflammation, you're not going to have health problems, you're not even going to need all those micronutrients from plants, and you can survive off of just meat. And I look at these carnivore diet people, and it blows my mind. They're very healthy, very healthy. Like, of all the diets I've seen that people do long term, as far as how healthy they look and how they function, I have to say I'm most impressed with the carnivore diet. On the other hand, you have the vegan diet. They all look like they're dying. All the vegans I know are weak and fragile, and they've got no performance, and their mind is foggy, and they've got inflammation, and they have dad bods, and they just don't look healthy. And their argument would be, yeah, because we don't look healthy on the outside, but we're healthy on the inside. If you look at the carnivore, they might look good on the outside, but inside they're all toxic and they've got cancer and stuff, which is not true. And number one, your body does actually reflect pretty well. Like, you can actually tell a lot about someone's health by looking at them. Like, how it's hard to tell with camera, but like, my skin doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
My hair looks thin and all that. But anybody who sees me in person, they always say, wow, you look really healthy. Like, you're glowing. Like, your skin just looks good. Like, your energy is good. Your mental sharpness is good. Your physical performance is amazing. I'm not on the carnivore diet. I'm just saying, like, the videos you watch of people doesn't totally represent like how healthy they are or not as you could perceive in actual person. So when you talk about this keto diet with the high fats,
The mix has animal proteins, so it's not either vegetarian or vegan. It has animal sources of protein, and basically the only sources of fat is like egg yolks, dried egg yolks that are there, and the olive oil and the linseed oil. So the fats, the two sources of fats are plant-based, and one is animal-based, but the protein sources are almost every one of them animal-based protein.
Mhm. Baby Allie, my 1-year-old daughter, just stopped breastfeeding, which I'm not really happy about because I wanted her to breastfeed for 2 years. So I'm trying to figure out what nutrients can be added to the formula milk in order to get her the nutrients that she would otherwise be getting from, or even better nutrients than the breast milk. And I added in, or I had the mom add in cod liver oil and fish oil. And I didn't think about linseed oil, but I'm gonna look it up and see if there's some advantages in adding linseed oil, because you can add a little bit of things to the formula and shake it up and have them drink it, and they're not. You add too much and it's not going to taste good, right? But a little bit of these healthy oils in addition to it, I think, is what a baby formula is probably, amongst other things, is probably missing. Trying to make the ultimate baby formula for her. I'm going to look up linseed oil for that also.
I find it working great. It has a lot of omega-3s, and I feel like that if you take it with fish oil, there's some synergy effect, because the linseed oil has other bioflavonoids and stuff that helps absorb the omega-3s. So I find it working synergistically with the fish oil.
All right, I pulled it up on my phone, so after we hang up, that's what I'll. Oh, linseed is flax. Yeah, okay.
Flaxseed oil, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. I used to drink a lot of flaxseed oil. I did stop because it was my genetic test also that said that my body doesn't convert flax oil into omega-3s very well. Of course, some is always going to convert. It means I would just have to drink a lot more. But for me personally, I get a lot more out of a fish oil. But this is good. I'll have her take that. I think if I remember right, the risk and drawback of flax oil is that it is it's a pretty delicate oil. How do I say it? It's fragile, so it can go toxic pretty easy under temperature or oxidation.
Yeah, I store it in the
Refrigerator
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay, I'll have her take linseed oil, flax oil, and I'll have her stored in the fridge. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Tony. I think that covers it up. If you would want to say some last thing to all the listeners.
I feel like I rant a lot on this with you, but it's so important, because if people understand the foundation of the forces at play here, they can make their own decision and discovery. Like if you adopt this mindset and you understand the physics of everything, then next time you go online and you read an article about a supplement or a drug, you don't just get tricked into whatever they want you to think. You're able to think for yourself. So I try to speak to the foundation of it, and hopefully some people out there will get tremendous value from the perspective and getting their mind outside the matrix so that they can interpret the information better, so that it's like teaching someone to fish versus giving them fish. I try to teach them how to fish so that whenever they do their own research in the future, they're actually getting the facts and reading through it rather than just getting led down a path by someone who's trying to manipulate them.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for your time. I know you don't have a lot of time, so thank you very much for finding time to record this podcast, and have a good time. And if you all the listeners, if you like the podcast, you can share it to Instagram stories, and you can tag Dr. Tony Huge, and my Instagram is Mario and the _Crkon. If you understand how I pronounce it. So thanks a lot. Have a nice day, and bye.
Bye, Mario.